Ah, see, you didn't realise that was going to happen. Well, I realised it was going to happen. But yes, welcome to anybody who is actually listening on this cold day. We've decided to experiment today by appearing in portrait format, just to see what it might be like on a smartphone. So if you're watching on a smartphone and have an opinion, then let us know. Alternatively, if you're watching on LinkedIn or on a computer or something like that, and you like it or don't like it, then again, please let us know. So I'm not going to go through the rigmarole of introducing people. They know who we are, don't they, Stuart? Do people
I
know?
hope they do, Derek. I hope
Yeah,
they
they
do.
should by now. I'm Derek Cheshire, and that guy down there is Stuart Webb. And our topic for today is a bit of a strange one, but it's ecosystems and Earthshot. Most people will be familiar with the Earthshot prize that's been going now for 3 years and the things that it's been doing. It's been sort of creating a whole series of award winners and runners up in a number of categories, ranging from sort of nature to the climate to there's 5 of them. And this sort of resonated with me particularly because I was in a discussion a while ago with somebody about ecosystems, and they were sort of saying, well, how can we create a sort of global ecosystem, which is a contradiction in terms in a way. And then I was thinking to the way, for instance, the Earthshot's organised, in the sense that if by dividing it into the climate, and I can't remember exactly what the categories are called now, but there's climate and oceans and wildlife, and so people are doing all sorts of things. But the point is, they're doing this in their own. They've got their own problem to solve, and they're collaborating in similar areas. Therefore, they are creating their own ecosystems, but they're all part of a global ecosystem. So there are, in fact, projects around that will spread the knowledge amongst all of these projects, no matter where they are. And that got me to thinking a bit like ecosystems and slime mold. So I've gone. Well, you know how slime mold spreads. You don't actually have to do anything to it. It's the shortest way to from A to B, but it also spreads and makes connections. And I was thinking that there's no point saying to somebody, empty your bins, recycle your food waste, or have an electric car. You must do all because nobody can do all these things. But if we have these separate things with their own ecosystems, and we have some metaphorical slime mold with which they can connect, and there are connections being made, then that's the way we solve all the problems we need to solve, I think. So this all stems from the fact that you can't have one ecosystem. You can't have a global ecosystem, but you can have lots of ecosystems that need to somehow complement one another. And I think that's where I was
Derek,
coming from in a very, very, very roundabout way.
let me just take us back to 2 things, Derek. One of which is, let's just name those 5 Earthshot um, subdivisions, if you like. I can't think of the right word for it at the moment. But anyway, they're protect and restore nature, clean our air,
Clean our air,
revive our
revive our
oceans,
oceans, build a waste-free world,
build
and fix our climate.
build a waste-free world, fix our climate. So those are the 5. Now you're absolutely right. It's very difficult to focus on all 5 of those at any one time. In fact, I would imagine it's almost impossible. And one of the things that I've been very conscious of just in the last few days, actually, let's not make this too topical and too political, but there's obviously a major problem at the moment with what I can see to do with protecting and restoring nature and air in California, where I believe that we've seen a situation where a shift in the climate, a shift in weather, a shift in situation there where no rain has fallen has led to some very dry ground and a series of quite wide-ranging wildfires. Now, what I was surprised to see was that the connection between that and climate change hasn't been made by too many people. What it's shifted to is, what are we doing about the situation to actually sort of protect ourselves from these changes, and there has not been enough focus on that. Now, I don't know that those focuses are actually going to create enough activity for us to be able to do it. Obviously, there are people that look at this and go, well, it can't possibly be because of climate change. But what we have to do is we have to do exactly what you said, which is start making the connections in such a way that the connection naturally leads to the next action, doesn't it? You can't get people into the situation where you're uncomfortable and you go, okay, I'm gonna just sort of stick them in an uncomfortable situation and make a big leap. You have to make those steps really small. It's a bit like innovation in general. The way to innovate is often through small incremental steps. The massive revolutions are very difficult to organize. They may be necessary, but they're difficult to organize. What you need to do is you have to make small, incremental, but rapid. And that's, I think, where we've gone wrong with a lot of this. We are making the small incremental steps, but they're so slow. And for me, one of the things as an innovation community we do is we wait for those small incremental steps and hope that they're just going to occur naturally. We have to increase the pace of these. We have to start making the slime mold move quicker. Now, I don't know an awful lot about slime molds. I did a bit of reading about them, but slime molds, from what I can tell, are motivated by certain stimuli. They are drawn towards food, or they're drawn towards things. What we have to do is make those the new situation, the new environment in which we want to move, whether or not that be a better climate, whether it be a better situation for a business, to actually say, this is more attractive for you. How do we encourage you to move to it?
Indeed. And just looking at the list of the 5 Earthshot categories, if three of them, if they had been connected and they had any operatives around in the States, would have helped the wildfire situation and others. But and I think that's the thing. There isn't a global ecosystem in the sense that a company can set something up itself to try and solve its own problems. But globally, you can't do it. The problems are just too big, and in fact, they're too complex. You need to have separate, smaller ecosystems which can touch upon each other, and hence do some really, really, really good work. I mean, I don't know if anybody has had a look at the Earthshot finalists from this year, but one that really caught my eye, and one that caught my eye last time, there was Rome, the Nigerian company that makes electric bikes. Well, more like electric motorbikes than electric bikes. And there are companies that do these sorts of things anyway. But I thought, how over-engineered would that have been had they been manufactured in the US or UK and exported to Nigeria? These were designed, built in Nigeria, and they've got networks of charging stations. They've got all sorts, a couple of 100 kilometers from a charge. It's enough to take the kids to school, the farmer to market, the doctor to their patients. I'm thinking that's brilliant. I was reading up on this again yesterday, and not only are they taking Nigeria by storm with electric bikes or motorbikes, they've now got 2 different sizes of electric buses as well.
Have they really? Wow.
They have a small one and a larger version, and this is rapid pace. I mean, their own particular slime mold, but $24 million worth of startup funding. It's going well. And the other one that really got to me was Mukuru stoves.
Yes, I've heard them.
Yeah, they're
very impressive.
They're very impressive, and I don't know. I'm going to use my contacts. I would really, really, really like to have a live stream or recorded video with the lady who founded it. I'm going to see if I can find her and do that. But those sorts of things, solving problems, and rapid. And the key is rapidly. It's something has to be done. And
what I think is, sorry, what I was going to say, Derek, what I think is impressive about those is this is an example of where these are organisations, these are people who've identified that better state. and then making it attractive for their ideal customer, or whatever we want to describe them as. They're making it attractive for those people to move towards where that ideal state, where that new state would be more attractive. So as a result, it becomes easier for somebody to say, yeah, I think that would be a good place for us to be. There's a concept that I talk to businesses quite a lot about, which is, why are you making it so hard? We often put in things to our own organizations. We often put in things into other people's lives where we go, it's convenient for me, therefore we're going to introduce this step. Doesn't help the business get people to move towards a better state. We've got to start making it easy. Local government, national government have got to start making it easy for us to see how we can easily go from where we are now to a situation where the oceans are cleaner. We have to make it easy for where we are now to making the air cleaner. If they put in things which make it difficult, it disincentivizes.
Yeah, the other thing that I find is quite interesting is the to do with the spread of slime mold indirectly, and we see that's quite an interesting theme, that. But the concept, well, there's two things. One is the concept of spreading knowledge, and the other one, which very loosely linked to the concept of listening. One of the projects was can't remember what it was called, but basically, if you go out into a forest, you hear sounds, and as all the wildlife returns, the soundscape changes.
Yes.
So what they didn't do, was go and try and sort of audit every bug, bird, monkey, whatever. They just recorded it, and over periods of time, listening just it told them what they wanted to know. But as a global sort of Earthshot, and just generally global thing, everybody's listening also to what is happening in the other areas, in the other countries, so people can collaborate. And fortunately, the people who are the sponsors, the advocates, whoever, all the big people at the top, the UBSs, the Microsoft Foundations, everybody, they're all plugged into each other. So it's quite interesting that apart from Costa Rica, there aren't any governments really heavily involved in this, which again makes it sort of pan global, if you like.
And sad.
So yeah, brilliant.
What do we do to make governments care more about? And this is one of the problems with government, isn't it? And the problem, as we were saying, with innovation in general, too often we are short-termist in these things. We have got to get people to think more about the 5, the 10, the 15, the 20-year cycle, rather than in government. What am I going to be doing in 1 year, 2 years time, because I'm going to be elected?
Yeah, I don't really know a lot or sufficient about the government of developing countries, but in developed countries, it's purely driven by economics. Not everybody, but the balance of people sit there, pay their taxes, and demand that the state pays for this, that, and the other. When it doesn't happen, they complain, thump the table, vote another government in, and they're equally as bad as doing it. But if you can create something which demonstrates to everybody that there is there is a cost saving, then people start to buy in. I mean, as an example, we have in South Yorkshire an organisation called Heroes of Health, and what they've started doing is. Pardon?
You've mentioned this before.
Well, I mentioned them before, but it's a good example in the sense that what they've done is there's GPs involved, practitioners from A&E, but they set up a company, and it's not rocket science. The whole idea is you don't treat people, you stop them getting sick in the first place. So the whole idea is through the apps they've got, the groups they've got, the walking groups they've got. You give people dietary advice. You get them exercising. By the foods they eat, the exercises they take, you can reduce stress symptoms. You can reduce diabetes. You can reduce instances of heart disease. It all sounds great, but then you actually realise that the numbers of presentations that they are stopping at GP surgeries. And once you get to that level, you can say, look, we're saving you £150,000 a year. People will start to listen at that, but they won't start listening until you start mentioning the money. They don't make, the fact that there are less presentations. Well, that sounds good, ish. But once you're saving a hospital or an integrated care board money, then they listen.
We have to find more ways of getting people to listen, Derek. That's the secret to this.
But people generally don't. I mean, one of the things I've been trying to do is wake people up and say, if you don't do something with your business, if you don't do something different, then you're going to die in, I don't know, 3 to 6 years. And they would rather spend more money on their marketing budget to hope they can sell their way out of it rather than do something different. And lots of people have said something similar. So
it is sad.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to make people listen, not necessarily listen to us, but listen to the people, some of the people who have the answers, I think.
Yeah, you're quite right. You are quite right. I have no other answer than to say the secret to these things, I think, is
slime mold. Slime mold.
Is that, excuse me, that most difficult of situations, to actually sort of explain properly to people why they need to. The slime mold understands it from an innate point of view. It needs to move towards food. It needs to move to a better environment for itself. We're comfortable. We often find ourselves comfortable. It doesn't feel as though we need to move. We don't need to sort of progress because everything's okay. It might not be optimal, but it's okay. There are no major problems until there are. And then it becomes a major issue that you've got to deal with. So we need to find ways of getting people to understand that gentle movement, that slow movement, but frequent, is actually more attractive to them than just staying in their comfortable situation. I think it's a bit apocryphal, the story of the frog that sits in a bowl of water and you keep increasing the temperature. I think people have actually tried it. You'll find the frog does leap out at a point, but there's a long time that the frog will sit there.
He doesn't wait too long.
No, he doesn't. But the frog will sit. The frog will sit for a while because, let's face it, the risk of moving to a new situation is largely outweighed by it's okay at the moment. But the problem is that these shifts that we are seeing in business and in the world around us, they are sudden. They are like an earthquake. Everything's fine until there's a big crack, and then there's a big problem. Yeah. You have to move before the big problem.
As I like to say, you need to get off the tracks before you can see the train coming.
You certainly do.
You certainly do. For it, because as COVID told us, when things start moving exponentially, they move very, very quickly indeed. And it's not just things like disease. I mean, you go into a crowd and play the sort of Chinese whispers sort of game. It's all of these things, are exponential, and it's just the exponential factor that is variable. So when these things happen,
and they do, we know they do.
A bit like my friend Colin the chameleon.
You do like Colin, don't you?
I do like Colin the chameleon, but it is possible. These things are possible, and you can change in a way that means you don't have to make a really big thing of it. You just do it. It is possible. People have done it. So countries have done it. Companies are doing it. Earthshot people are doing it. So let's all do it.
I would wish they would.
Yeah, let's big up slime mold.
Well, in those under those circumstances, I'm going to go and immediately make friends with one and see whether I can learn more about exactly how it's going to help my life. But I suspect it's not going to take me just this afternoon to do that.
No, indeed. So I think that's a good topic for a future day. Slime mold. See if I can find
Let's look
somebody.
into it.
See if I can find an expert on slime mold.
I look forward to you coming up with one of those, Derek. I really do.
Indeed. So I think it's on that note. It's probably time to go for today, isn't it?
It certainly is.
It is.
And we will return again.
We will return again. Probably with slime mold. Who knows? And if anybody has any opinions on the portrait landscape format, then please do let us know.
Looking forward to seeing somebody comment on that.
Yeah, indeed. Right. Okay. Well, we'll see you next. Actually, when is next time? Oh,
don't ask me. I'm only here.
Second Friday of February.
Which is what?
Don't worry. We'll remind. Well, I'll remind people when it is. So I think it's goodbye for now.
Until such time as Derek worked out what's going on next month.
Indeed, or even whether we're which format we're in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So it's tatty bye for now then.
Bye bye, Derek.
Bye bye.